Like, aside from the smut though, this book did not give what y'all said it was supposed to give. I don't understand. Hey everyone, it's Jayla. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about all the books I read in April, and it's going to be a really quick video, I think, because I didn't read that much. I only read 5 books, and we have a range here because we had like a 2.5 and we had a 5-star. So let's just get into it. I decided that I kind of want to do, instead of chronological order like I usually do for my wrap-ups, I'm going to do just based off of the rankings since it is such a wide list. So we're going to start with the 2.5, and the 2.5 of this month was actually Kingdom of Flesh and Fire by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and I just can't believe this. If you'll recall from my other wrap-up, which I will have linked up below, yes, I just said up below. I'll link it down below and up there in the cards for you to see. I was obsessed with From Blood and Ash. I loved that book. I gave it 5 stars. I don't know if I would feel the same way a month out, now that I can like look at it in retrospect, but I still like it. I still keep it at the 5 stars that it was, and I had a really good time reading this book. However, I did not really enjoy this one as much. I actually buddy read this with Christine from the Remy's Digest, and so I did have a good time talking to her about it because we were literally going page by page, just reacting to things together, and there were certainly a lot of things to react to, but there also wasn't. It was just kind of boring. Not a lot really happens. They talk about a lot of things that they're going to do, but then they don't actually do them, and like, we made predictions at the beginning and none of it came true because nothing happened in this book, and it was just really frustrating to read. So unfortunately this one was a 2.5. I found it to be very info dumpy, so there's a lot of world building in here, which is cool, but we don't ever actually see any of that come into fruition in the book. So you learn a lot of information that you have nothing to do with until the next book, I guess, which I am reading in May because I bought it, and I gotta get through this series. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Kingdom of Flesh and Fire. Unfortunately, it was a huge disappointment for me. I said in my Goodreads review that this was the most filler book that could ever filler, but the smut was good. And so I think that's all you need to know about that. It's fiery smut, lots of good spiciness in here. Like, aside from the smut though, this book did not give what y'all said it was supposed to give. I don't understand. There was nothing, I don't know how people said this was the best, or like they said it was better than the first book, and I just don't see it. I don't see it at all, so just unfortunate. Then my 3-star for the month was Ruthless Gods. I'm not going to go into everything about the series, but my feelings towards it are that I'm really feeling very ambivalent about it right now. I'm not sure how I feel. It's not bad as far as like the writing, as far as the plot. It's just not, I'm not invested. The characters are still so hard to attach myself to. And so I'm just having a really hard time really sinking into this story. I do like the romance in here. It's very like push and pull. It's very hard for the two like primary love interests to be together. And I love their chemistry, even though I know that some people will disagree with that. And I've talked to someone who thinks that this romance is so weird and like not good at all. But I don't know, like I just want to see what happens with them. But I don't want to support this author anymore. We've already talked about this on my channel. So I will be holding off on reading Blessed Monsters. I might never read it because I'm just not feeling the series on the whole. But it is 3 stars. I did like this one a lot more than I liked Wicked Saints. I still gave Wicked Saints like 3 stars too, I think, though. But I did enjoy this one a little bit more. There are definitely other characters in here like Seraphine who are a lot more bearable in this book and a lot more interesting to read about. And so overall, like, it's an improvement from the first book, but I'm just not in love with it still, and I don't know if I'll ever get to that point. This will definitely never be a favorite series for me, and I would probably never reread it. And that's just aside from everything that goes on with that author. But yeah, that's how I feel about this one. we're just not vibing right now is what it is, and I don't know what to do about that. I don't know if there's anything I can do about that, but I do like where the book leaves off at the end of this one. I'm very curious to know what happens. So maybe sometime in the very distant future, if I find Blessed Monsters at a thrift store or laying in the street somewhere, I will give it a read. Then we have one of my 4-star reads of the month, and that was Along for the Ride by Mimi Grace. This is a romance novel that follows a enemies to lovers road trip and the developing of a relationship after the road trip. I really enjoyed this. I like the writing, I love the characters, they're so real and they're so good together. I love the chemistry between them. I love the cover. These covers are so good. Lenny Kaufman is the artist who does them, so shout out to Lenny. I love what you do. You're doing a great job. Keep doing it. So like I said, I really enjoyed this, but I gave it 4 stars mostly because I felt like the thing that was supposed to pull me into the story was the road trip, and the road trip was only like, I don't want to lie and say the wrong name. Oh wow, oh, this scene. Love that. Okay, I just got caught up in a smut scene. Sorry. Oh wow, I'm just gonna keep flipping the page because I'm seeing things. Okay, yeah, so I would have been wrong if I said 40 pages. I don't remember how long the road trip in this book is, but it's definitely not the majority of the book. The majority of the book takes place after the road trip, and I just wish we had spent more time on the road trip part of it because that's the part that I wanted to read about. I do think that what we did get from the road trip was very fun. I actually really did not like the main love interest man guy here when we first started the book because I felt like he had said something to the female protagonist that I just did not like. It just rubbed me the wrong way completely. But he really turned around for me by the end, and I like that I really didn't like him at the start, but I learned to love him by the end. Yes, I love him. He's mine now. So I think that was a good enemies to lovers. I think it was too quick, so if you're looking for like a real slow burn, like we really don't like each other, this is not that kind of book. Like the hate between them definitely does not last that long, but I did not like him at first. I am going to be reading so much more Mimi Grace after this. I think she only has one other book out, which I've already bought, and that was called Make a Scene. I have it over there somewhere. And just going back to the pretty covers, Lenny Kaufman, I bought another book that they designed, and that was called Sweet Hand, so I have that now, and I'm very excited to read both of those when I'm in a more romancy mood. My other 4-star for the month was Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney. I read this for Thrills and Chills Readathon, and this is the only thing I read for Thrills and Chills Readathon. I made an entire TBR, and I did not complete it at all. I don't remember all of the prompts, but I'm gonna go ahead and say I completed Thrills and Chills because I could definitely make bingo with this book somehow. There's definitely an unreliable narrator in here, which is what I was using this for initially. I feel like there is some backstabbing, so I could use like that for the relationship goes wrong prompt. Obviously there's a free space here, and I don't remember the other ones, but I'm gonna insert how I won because I'm sure that this completes all the prompts. But anyway, as for how I feel about the book, I really enjoyed this. This is a novel about a woman who is in a coma and she's kind of alert to everything that's going on around her, but everyone around her doesn't know that she's alert, and so she's trying to piece together what happened to her to end up in the hospital. And just to remind you, there's 3 things you should know about her. Her name is Amber Reynolds, and I'm gonna say 4 things now because I messed up, but she's in a coma, her husband doesn't love her anymore, and sometimes she lies. And so I really enjoyed unraveling the mystery around this one. I do think that I kind of caught on quickly to what was going on, but not specifically exactly what the plot twist was, but I don't know how to describe it, but I was like, oh, this is definitely what's happening, but I haven't gotten to the specifics of what's happening yet. I can't give you the exact details. So I found that out pretty early on because the writer did a really good job just dropping hints at what was going to happen. But I think that's good because I don't read thrillers very often, so I feel like me being able to catch on means that I'm big-brained. But I don't know if another thriller reader would feel the same way about this, or if this was like too easy to figure out to them. So for me personally, there was something there that literally helps you figure it out, but there's also, you don't know how it happens. It's more about figuring out how it happens than what is happening, if that makes sense. All that to say that I definitely enjoyed reading from this narrator's perspective because you do find out so much about what isn't true and what is true, and you're just so confused and you're like, what's going on? And it reminds me of another book I read, The Sinner, which I've talked about before, but there's just like I can't talk about it. But there's like a dynamic in here that reminds me of The Sinner. I did overall enjoy that book, but I think I enjoyed this one a lot more. So I would recommend this one for you if you are interested in thrillers, and if you are interested in thrillers as a non-thriller reader, because I have no idea if a thriller reader would find this actually very good. But for me, it was a 4-star read. And finally, we have my 5-star read for May, which was The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. I really enjoyed this book, and obviously it's been super hyped up all over BookTube and all over Instagram and just in the book sphere in general. Everyone's talking about it. It definitely deserves all the hype it got. It got like Book of the Month last year, so, I mean, no, it didn't get Book of the Month. It got Book of the Year from Book of the Month last year. So I can see why. I will say that this book was not what I expected it to be. Like, I knew that it was going to follow the sisters who started out at the beginning, and maybe I thought it was going to be like their kids, and I didn't realize that we would kind of leave behind those perspectives once we've had them. So I really enjoyed traveling through time with this family and seeing where everyone ends up. I loved that there is casual queer rep in here. I really enjoyed that, was not expecting it at all. And I love the storyline attached to the queer character, even though they're a side character, unfortunately, but they are definitely a prominent part of the story. Obviously, this touches on colorism and racism, which you can't really have colorism without racism. But anyway, in case you don't know, which you probably do because this book has been literally everywhere, but this book follows 2 sisters, and they are coming from a very light-skinned black town, and everyone there is very pale. They strive for like being as white looking as possible. Basically, they can't live there anymore and they leave, and it follows them kind of as they end up separating and going on their different paths, one of them being white passing and the other living and embracing their black lifestyle, embracing being black. I thought it was so good, and the only thing that I didn't really love about the book was simply that there's not a lot going on in the story. It's definitely very slow, there's not a lot of plot, and it's very character driven, which I don't mind character driven books at all, but for someone who would have a problem with that, then it's probably not the book for you, because really nothing happens. And even when stuff does happen, it kind of just drops off and you don't really talk about it anymore. So yeah, I don't know, that's the only thing about this book that was like a little bit iffy, but it was definitely still a really good read. And if you haven't read it and you're putting it off for whatever reason like I did, because I've had this book since last May or June, I think, then you should definitely check it out. And I'm so glad that I finally read this. And so I only read 5 books, like I said, but I did want to just mention that I was halfway or over halfway through The Other Black Girl by Zakiya Dalila Harris, and I was reading this for Thrills and Chills Readathon as well. Unfortunately, I didn't finish it for Thrills and Chills Readathon. I'm still not done with it, and it is currently May, but I have 150 pages left, and I'm enjoying it so far, but I'll go more into it, obviously, in my May wrap up. But I did just want to put in there that I have been reading this. It's definitely taking a long time to feel like a thriller. Very slow build. Hopefully I still enjoy it, and we are going to talk about it more at the end of the month. So why am I holding it this way? What? Okay. So here's everything that I read in the month of April. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you have anything to say about any of these books in the comments below, please let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a thumbs up down there, and you can subscribe to my channel if you want to see more from me and you haven't already subscribed. I'd love that. Really, I'd love that for you. You can also follow me on Instagram at LalaLovesLit, and that's my Bookstagram in case you want to see any of the books I'm reading currently, any reviews and things like that. Feel free to also follow me on Goodreads if that's something you're interested in. Again, thank you so much for watching. I will talk to you in the next video. Bye.